on a private yacht that sailed on the sea. Inside, Cheng Cheng was sitting on the couch and his girlfriend Cheng Cheng was watching an advertisement with a girl in a bikini. Cheng Cheng's girlfriend asked him why he was looking at a girl on the screen when a real beauty was sitting next to him. Cheng Cheng's girlfriend's name is Lily. She is a very popular idol. Cheng Cheng is good looking, he studies perfectly well, and his parents are also rich. Cheng Cheng immediately replied with red cheeks that it was just an interesting video shot, although the girl from the advertisement is only 15% as beautiful as she is. From his answer, Lily smiled and said that he knows how to please her, so here's a birthday present for him. After these words, Lily kissed Cheng Cheng on the cheek. At the same moment, a guy came into the cabin and standing at the door grinned and asked, saying that they look so sweet, would they really limit themselves to just a kiss on the cheek? He would like to watch the sequel. The guy's name is Jing Liang. He is Cheng Cheng's best friend. He is also the son of the head of the corporation. Jingxi to all Majorix Majorica. Jing Liang walked up to Cheng Cheng and grabbed him by the neck and asked him what he would say to him about garlic. Had he had nothing with her so far? To which Cheng Cheng shouted in the negative and asked, why? He has a healthy attitude towards girls. Everything goes on as usual. Touching his chest, on the side of which the heart is located, Jing Liang asked what he wanted to hint that his attitude towards them was unhealthy. Taking the coconut milk in his hands, Cheng Cheng said that he was ready to give him his coconut milk if only he would shut up. By this time, a girl came into the cabin and when she saw Lily, she joyfully asked, shouting that she had come, if she could take a picture with her. When she didn't hear an answer, the girl ran to Lily, pushing Cheng Cheng away. The girl's name is Cheng Yin. She is the younger sister of Cheng Cheng. More than anything in the world, she loves to follow the lives of celebrities. After that, a woman and a man came into the cabin with a glass of wine. Looking at the whole picture, the woman called everyone to eat a cake. Cheng Cheng's father is the founder of a large technology company, Tin Tang. Everyone around says that he has been a child prodigy since childhood. Cheng Cheng's mother is very beautiful and kind. She works in the theater. Cheng Cheng's mother brought the cake and put it on the table and all at once shouted the phrase like, "Happy birthday, baby Cheng." Until Cheng Cheng made a wish for candles. Cheng Yin spoke to him, calling him brother, so that he would make a wish sooner. Without hesitation, Cheng Cheng said out loud that there would be peace in the whole world. There is enough in Cheng Cheng's life. Friendship, money, love, he does not even know what else he can wish for. But after a few days, his life plunged into the deepest abyss of disappointment. A few days later, after the yacht trip, it was announced on the news that the head of the company's research department, Tin Tang, said that their main development was based on stolen technologies. By now, the police have already launched an investigative check against the founder of the company, Tin Tang, Mr. Cheng Guo. Cheng Guo climbed onto the roof of the building and shouted that he had done nothing. He had developed all the technologies himself. Shouting these words, Cheng Guo jumped off the roof, asking himself that he was innocent, so why didn't anyone believe him? After Cheng Guo's death, Cheng Cheng's mother stopped talking to them. Cheng Cheng thought that time would heal her wounds, but then she also died. After the death of her mother, Cheng Yin developed previously almost unnoticeable autism. Sitting in the ward and holding a spoon to Cheng Yin, Cheng Cheng asked her, with a pitiful expression on his face, that she would eat. The doctors told Cheng Cheng that she might never return to normal life. After putting the food in front of Cheng Yin, Cheng Cheng checked his phone, which received messages from Lily and from Jing Liang. Lily sent him a message that she knew how difficult it was for him right now, but he could always count on her support. Jing Liang also wrote that if he needed something, he could not hesitate to contact him. He would help in any way he could. After reading these messages, Cheng Cheng smiled and said out loud that at least he still had them. After talking about this, Cheng Cheng thought to himself that he would not lose heart in any case. Already in the evening, Cheng Cheng approached Lily's house and called her. Seeing that she did not answer the phone, Cheng Cheng asked himself what he was wondering, is Lily busy now? He wanted to tell her so much, but she did not answer the phone. Approaching Lily's house and continuing to call, Cheng Cheng began to hear sounds. Looking ahead, Cheng Cheng saw Jing Liang's convertible. Approaching the convertible, Cheng Cheng thought that he seemed to hear Lily's ringtone from there. And this car is like one of Jing Liang's cars. Are they together? When he reached the bushes that were not far from the convertible, Cheng Cheng saw Jing Liang hugging Lily and saying that her boyfriend was calling her. Why wasn't she picking up the phone? After asking this question, Jing Liang touched Lily's chin and pulled her face towards him. Lily replied with the question that if he was her boyfriend, then who was he? To which Jing Liang replied that he did not know, maybe a lover, although she was not married. After these words, Jing Liang began stroking Lily's leg. From such actions, Lily said that he would stop. Jing Liang went on to say that if his father had not forced him to be friends with him, would he have allowed him to be with her? But since she did not sleep with him, it can be assumed that he did not lose anything. Hearing his words, Lily asked with red cheeks that this whole situation with his father's company, did his family have anything to do with it? Jing Liang responded positively by saying that the head of their research department was their man. Everything was fabricated. Laughing, Lily called Jingliang a bad guy. Unable to endure any more humiliation, Cheng Cheng quickly walked up to the convertible and kicked on the door. Cheng Cheng called Jingliang a freak. Showing his phone with the recording of the conversation, Cheng Cheng told Lily and Jingliang that he had recorded their conversation. Now his whole family would go to the bottom, and this whore too. He would go to the police right now. After saying these words, Cheng Cheng turned around and started to leave. Lily immediately looked at Jingliang and asked with sweat on her face, "What should I do? Her image is over." Jingliang did not answer, started the convertible and drove straight at Cheng Cheng. Before he could turn around, Cheng Cheng was already lying on the ground bleeding. Lily touched her face with both hands and shouted to Jingliang, "Did he fish him? They will be caught and imprisoned." Before completely losing consciousness, Cheng Cheng saw Lily and Jingliang get out of the car. Jingliang told Lily that no matter what she was worried about, for a certain amount there would be a person who would take care of it. It was just an accident. After Jingliang's words, Cheng Cheng closed his eyes, and when he began to come to his senses, he asked himself that he had already died. Having fully recovered and seeing that he was in a place unknown to him, looking at someone's feet coming out of the portal from above, Cheng Cheng asked where he was. A couple of seconds later, a girl came out of the portal. Her hair had elastic bands with her name, Duck. Doka called Cheng Cheng by name and proudly told him that she was aware of everything that had happened to him. Did he want revenge? If so, then he should rather call Doki. To which Cheng Cheng shouted, "What kind of place is this? She should let him out soon." Doki, flying up to Cheng Cheng, began to tell him with a smile on his face that he would not be so nervous. He is in the Temple of Knowledge. All the achievements of all civilizations are stored here, and she is in charge of everything here. Her name is Doka. She can help him take revenge. Cheng Cheng repeated her name questioningly and asked if the game was like that, or wasn't it? Doc immediately yelled resentfully that no, Doc, this is a person who understands any field and is skilled in any business. After her words, Cheng Cheng waved his hand to the side and shouted that he didn't care. He better tell how he could take revenge. He wants to destroy this rotten couple. He wants to take revenge on them all for his family. Pulling his phone out of his pocket, Cheng Cheng handed it to Doki and continued to say that there was already evidence of their guilt on his phone. He could level their reputation. She could only release it. Looking at the outstretched phone, Doka apologized and began to say that unfortunately she had to tell him that after his rebirth, the world would not be the same. All the tragic events that happened to his family would remain unchanged, but the recording of that dialogue would no longer be on his phone. The accident was not because of Jingliang. He himself carelessly crossed the road. Hearing such words, Cheng Cheng was surprised and he shouted, "What?" Doc continued that he was hit by a scooter, so he was not badly injured, only broke his arm. Making a serious face, Cheng Cheng asked, "So it will be a parallel world?" Smiling, Doka replied in the negative and told him to follow her, starting to lead Cheng Cheng to a room called the Planet of Men. Doka simultaneously told him that since human civilization had achieved certain successes, she decided to make archival records of these achievements. But an error occurred in the process. Not hearing the continuation, Cheng Cheng asked again, "Is there a mistake?" When she reached the room, Doc recognized with her hand the portraits of Einstein and Confucius, which were in digital form, and again began to tell her that she had made a little mistake in the record, and as a result, the entire population of the Earth had degraded. The greatest minds who pushed forward the entire civilized world had disappeared, and his planet now consists of idiots, because she wants that if he would restore the lost knowledge anew, his civilization needs to be returned to its original form. For this she implanted a smartass system in his brain. To turn it on, he just needs to call the doctor. After her words, Cheng Cheng hesitantly called the doc and asked himself, "And what is this system?" The smart guy's system appeared in front of him as soon as Cheng Cheng called her. She showed that he was at the first level. He was a student of Cheng Cheng. His training points were 10,000. Characteristics: morale was 0, health was 0, labor was 0, beauty was 0, and intelligence was 0. When she saw the smart guy's system, the red-cheeked Doka proudly said that this was the smart guy's system. Cheng Cheng was surprised. Without hesitating any longer, the doc began to tell a brief briefing that the system would evaluate him daily on the work done. If the assessment is unsatisfactory, does not pull the punishment, the Wheel of Fortune. In the store you can exchange points for items that are disposable and eternal. Items that he does not need yet can be put in a warehouse. The system will give him a task every day. He will receive points for completing them. Another section is not yet available to him. She will explain this to him later. After listening to the briefing, Cheng Cheng touched his chin and said that he understood everything. He helps him correct mistakes, and she helps him take revenge, right? If so, then he agrees. Grinning, Doka told him that he quickly agreed. She had not even had time to warn him that. Without finishing the sentence, the doc showed a close-up of how many training glasses he had and checked that he would take a look at it. After that, Doka continued to say that the training points are also his life points. As a gift for beginners, he was allocated 10,000 points. Every second he loses 1 point. When the number of points reaches 0, he will die completely and irrevocably. Well, is he scared? Grinning, Cheng Cheng replied in the negative, saying that he had already died. And then suddenly he was reborn and found another chance. He can only be grateful for the opportunity to take revenge on them. After naming Jing Liang, Cheng Cheng said that his fate was now sealed. After Cheng Cheng returned to the real world, he discovered that he was really different now. Lying in a hospital room, Cheng Cheng looked at internet queries and saw such as the multiplication table, who is the president of the country, the alphabet and pictures. From such requests, Cheng Cheng smiled and thought that people have interesting requests. It is obvious that this is not a parallel world, it is the same world, but greatly degraded. By this time, Cheng Yin and another man came into Cheng Cheng's room. Cheng Yin ran to Cheng Cheng and hugged him, saying that she missed her brother so much. Cheng Cheng thought to himself that after learning that he was in the hospital, his sister's condition became even worse. Now she resembled a child in terms of her level of development. Cheng Yin, seeing the condition of Cheng Cheng's hand, almost crying, asked him how he was. She could shake his hand so that she wouldn't hurt. Hugging Cheng Yin, Cheng Cheng grinned and said to himself that how could he feel pain when he was filled with anticipation of imminent revenge. A month later, Cheng Cheng got out of the car near the Lyceum, while Cheng Cheng told himself that his father's old friend, Uncle Lai, had taken care of him and his sister. His sister's condition required constant supervision, so he gratefully accepted his care. Lai also got out of the car and told Cheng Cheng that he had known Principal Lin for a long time. He had done him a great favor by taking him to his Lyceum. He should behave decently at school and not expose him to the principal. Answering Li that he understood, Cheng Cheng began to enter the Lyceum and think that Chunbo Lyceum was one of the best educational institutions where either very smart or very rich guys were taken. Ordinary students had no place here, but he only had revenge in mind. After walking a little through the territory of the Chongbo Lyceum, Jing Liang and Lily came up behind Cheng Cheng in an embrace. Jing Liang did not stand on ceremony, and immediately told Cheng Cheng, calling him that they hoped that he had been shot to death so that he could see his parents. Seeing what was happening, the other students stood aside and laughed, while Cheng Cheng, still standing with his back to them, made a satisfied face and grinned. After that, Jing Liang asked Lily that she had met with him, hadn't she? How does she like him? To which Lily replied by hugging Jing Liang that he was a sad nerd. People like him shouldn't have a girlfriend. Listening to all their words, the doc in the mini version jumped out in front of Cheng Cheng and asked angrily, saying that they were insulting him, and why was he silent? From the unexpected appearance of Doki, Cheng En was scared and told her in his mind that she would not jump out so unexpectedly. She scared him. Only Cheng Cheng and no one else can see the doc. By this time, the doc offered Cheng Cheng, asking what could be better for him to buy in the store, a sarcastic mask. Would he at least answer them in a normal way? Cheng Cheng replied to her that he had completely forgotten about the store. He would just try out a couple of items on this couple. After saying these words, Cheng Cheng quietly whispered Doka's name, but Doka told him that he was speaking too softly. The system would not start like that. Upon hearing her words, Cheng Cheng immediately shouted her name at the top of his voice, from which everyone around was removed. Cheng Cheng moved inside the system and saw a store. Inside it there are only a DeGrok app. It costs 100 points. A sarcastic mask. It costs 100 points. And a banana skin. It also costs 100 points. Looking at all this, Cheng Cheng touched his chin and asked, "What is all that there is?" The doc, showing him that he was on the first level, answered with a question that he understands what level to be on. He must be a smart boy, and over time he will reach higher levels and there will already be normal subjects. Crossing his arms over his chest, Cheng Cheng snapped his fingers and said that it was good. Since they were so cheap, he would take them all. Immediately after that, the system notified him that the purchase of the ulcer mask was successful. The purchase of the DeGrok was successful. The purchase of the banana peel was successful. After receiving the sarcastic mask, Cheng Cheng activated it, after which he went to the real world and time began to flow there again. Jing Liang adjusted his tie with a smirk on his face and asked, "What did Cheng Cheng go crazy with? What did he just shout?" Lily said that apparently he had injured more than just his arm in the accident. When Cheng Cheng came to himself, he called Lily and thoughtfully asked her with a smile, "What kind of smell is so strange? Does she use Dichlofos instead of perfume? Or does this lice remedy smell like that?" You can see from her face how difficult it is for her brain to process jokes. The phrase describes her best. There are boobs, you don't need to be smart. Hearing such words, Lily started biting her handkerchief and viciously asking what he said. The people around them also started talking among themselves and gathered around Jing Liang, Lily and Cheng Cheng. Taking off his jacket, Jing Liang asked, calling Cheng Cheng a jerk, that how was he talking to her? To which Cheng Cheng replied that it seemed to him that if the two of them were burned, the level of atmospheric pollution would increase significantly. After such a phrase, everyone around began to laugh. The doc, also rooting for Cheng Cheng, shouted that it served them right. They would know who they had contacted. Approaching Cheng Cheng and showing his fist, Jing Liang asked what he thought he was the smartest here. But how did it happen that he ended up at their school without passing the entrance exams? From such words, everyone around began to ask, what did Cheng Cheng get here without exams? So he ended up here for a scam. These majors were completely arrogant. Grinning, Cheng Cheng replied to Jing Liang that he would be smarter than some, and that he would know that he had excellent recommendations. Jing Liang immediately asked Cheng Cheng that these recommendations were from whom. Cheng Cheng stretched out his hand and replied that what did he care, if he did not doubt his intellectual abilities. He offered him a battle. They would ask each other a question, and if he did not answer, he would immediately leave school, and if he lost, he would kneel in front of everyone. Angered by his words, Jing Liang asked what he thought he had a chance at. At the same moment, Cha Yu intervenes in their dispute, telling Jing Liang to let him take part in the battle instead of him. After seeing Cha Yu, everyone around began to admire him and support him, saying that they know him. He did not take first place in the International Mathematics Olympiad. They even wrote about this prodigy in the newspapers. That's how the battle is planned. Cheng Cheng smiled at this and thought that he had already looked through their textbooks. These are all manuals for degenerates. I wonder what a child prodigy among degenerates is capable of. After that, the battle between Cheng Cheng and Cha Yu began. Cha Yu started first by saying that he, Cha Yu, the winner of the International Mathematics Olympiad, asks him the following question: how much is 9 times 9? Having asked this question, Cha Yu is sure to check to himself that this is the most difficult task at the Olympiad. Even their teacher could not calculate correctly, so they can consider the battle over. Cheng Cheng immediately replied that the answer would be 81. Not understanding this, Cha Yu was shocked. Without shouting, he asked what? How did he count so quickly? Is he really familiar with the semi-legendary what's her name? The multiplication table. One of the guys in the crowd asked the other guy next to him, what is the real answer? 9 plus 9 plus 9. No, it's too hard, he gives up. The second guy said that it was similar. It was not for nothing that he was taken to their school. While Cha Yu was in shock and could not believe his ears, Cheng Cheng activated the digger cap and asked the surprised Cha Yu, saying that now it was his turn. He would ask something simple: how much would 4 plus 6 be? Upon hearing his question, the first guy in the crowd said with confidence that the Olympian would decide. It was necessary to ask something more difficult. By this time, with a digger cap on his head, Cha Yu was thinking so hard how much would happen if you add 4 and 6 that steam came out of his head, and after a couple of seconds he said that he couldn't solve it. He couldn't. Calling him a cretin, Jing Liang kicked Cha Yu and asked that how could he not? Why was he setting him up like that? After that, Jing Liang approached Cheng Cheng and shouted that this battle of theirs had nothing to do with him. Was it weak for him to personally fight with him? Folding his arms at his chest, Cheng Cheng confidently replied that he didn't care, so he could walk first. Throwing out his jacket, Jing Liang asked Cheng Cheng a super puzzle. What is the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 100? The first guy in the crowd pulled out his calculator and said that he wouldn't even count with a calculator. Jing Liang, calling Cheng Cheng a fool, shouted and asked what was he like. He did not expect this. He can already collect manatees. Seeing his inaction, the doc also screamed and asked what he was slowing down for. He should destroy him. Cheng Cheng started laughing and replied that this was his trump card, which he was going to use to stump him. How pathetic he was. After that, Cheng Cheng pointed his finger at Jing Liang and replied that he had the answer, and it was 5,050, 1 plus 100 and multiplied by 50. The sum of the numbers from 1 to 1,000 would be 500,500, and from 1 to 10,000 would be 5,005,000. He couldn't continue further, but there is not enough space on the screens of their calculators. The guy who was with the calculator shouted that he had counted, and indeed, the answer was 5,050. The guy next to him said admiringly that this was Cheng Cheng's brain. By this point, Cheng Cheng had told Jing Liang to get down on his knees. Viciously starting to approach Cheng Cheng, Jing Liang asked what? On his knees. What is he carrying? He's going to knock him on the head. Cheng Cheng activated the banana skin right in front of Jing Liang's feet. Without seeing the skin, Jing Liang fell to his knees right in front of Cheng Cheng. Seeing this, everyone froze. Cheng Cheng, making a serious face, said that since his parents did not teach that one should respect agreements, then he would teach. At this time, Jing Liang was asking himself, why did he slip into exactly this position? Damn it. Grabbing Jing Liang's face with his hand, Cheng Cheng told him that he hoped he would remember this lesson. After that, Cheng Cheng let go of Jing Liang's face and started walking away, telling himself that this was just the beginning. He shouldn't think that he would leave him alone so easily. Doc, flying around Cheng Cheng, happily said that he had done a great job. It was not for nothing that she chose him. Jing Liang got to his feet with Lily's help and shouted after Cheng Cheng that he would dance again. watching all this from the corner. The girl held books in her hands and, straightening her hair with a smile on her face, said aloud that she did not expect such a student to appear in their ranks. It would be interesting. Some time later, in the assembly hall, the girl who was watching Cheng Cheng and Jing Lion stood on the stage in front of everyone and said that, "Dear teachers and long-time students, on this momentous day, they are happy to welcome." At the same time, a fat guy told his friend with headphones, who was sitting next to him, that how such a beautiful face and an ideal figure can be combined in one girl. He would give 10 years of his life to become her boyfriend. His friend with headphones adjusted his glasses and said that he would score. Because she is one of the 4 celestials, it is better for him to pay attention to simpler girls. At the top of the social pyramid of the Chunbo Lyceum, there are 4 girls: Chen, Yu, Lo, and Yan. They all come from noble families. They are very beautiful and well to study. They are called the 4 celestials, and the girl on stage named Lin Yu is one of them. It is better not to discuss them loudly, otherwise he will not run away from problems later. After listening to his words, the fat guy grabbed his hands and joyfully asked what other beauties there were besides them. To which the guy with the headphones responded positively, saying that, for example, Lily would study with them. She was an idol in general. There were a lot of beauties at their school, sitting behind them. And hearing their conversation, Cheng Cheng told them that the more beautiful a girl is, the more rotten she is. The soul of any beauty is teeming with demons. After hearing Cheng Cheng's words, the guys started talking in whispers and changed the subject. The guy with the headphones told the chubby guy that the lobsters were tasteless, although he did not try them because there was no money. The chubby guy agreed with him. After some time, all the students left the assembly hall, and it was announced over the loudspeaker that after the end of the ceremony, all clubs would organize events. They asked all new students to take an active part. Cheng Cheng also left the assembly hall, and after the message touched his head and told the doc that to hell with these events, he'd better go home. Doku laughed and called him naive. At the same moment, strange and loud sounds began to be heard in Cheng Cheng's head. Clutching Cheng Cheng's head and shouting, "What are these sounds?" Doku replied that this sound signaled that his points were running out and he had 1 hour left to live. Cheng Cheng did not expect to hear this, and with the face he saw, he shouted that this could not be. He bought only 3 items for 100 points. He should still have more than 8,000 points. Doku pointed her finger at Cha Yu, whose DeGrok app was still activated on his head, and he was still walking and couldn't decide how much 4 plus 6 would be. Seeing this, Cheng Cheng said with sweat on his face that damn it. It turns out he did not turn off the digger cap, and therefore 100 points were read from him every second. What the hell are the prices written so small? Even in a virtual store they are trying to rip off. After these words, Cheng Cheng turned off the DeGrok app, and at the same moment, Cha Yu's intellect returned and he was able to immediately decide how many would be 4 plus 6. Then he wept and asked himself why he couldn't solve this problem for so long. Squatting down, Cheng Cheng touched his forehead and asked, saying that he was careless this time, how should he fix everything now and score points? Flying up to Cheng Cheng, Doku replied that if he wanted to survive, he would just have to complete a super task. As soon as Doku said this, a system window appeared in front of Cheng Cheng saying that the super task was for him to take part in club events and become the most popular student. Difficulty level E. The reward is 10,000 training points. Flying around Cheng Cheng and pointing at the system window, Doku began to say that such tasks are called super tasks, because according to the calculations of the system, the probability of their completion is less than 10%. The reward for super tasks is very generous, but it is worth considering that in case of failure, the system will deduct the amount of points equal to the reward. But he's going to die very soon, so he has nothing to lose. Making a serious face, Cheng Cheng asked, saying that she would spare him her comments. How much time did he have left? Angered by his words, Doka shouted at him that she was not his personal secretary here. He should address her by her first name. At that time, Cheng Cheng accepted the super task and saw that he had 3,491 points left. In minutes, this figure is equal to 58 and 18 minutes. Seeing this, Cheng Cheng touched his chin and began to think that Uncle Lai had asked him to behave himself and not stand out too much. Is there a way to quickly gain popularity without standing out? At the same moment, a guy ran past Cheng Cheng asking where the toilet was. While the guy was running up quickly, he dropped something. Noticing this, Cheng Cheng said to himself that he seemed to have dropped something. As he got closer, Cheng Cheng saw that it was a mask, and he immediately thought that he and this guy were quite similar in build, so he would borrow it from him while he was doing the task. After a while, in the math club, a lot of students gathered near the blackboard, and seeing this, Cheng Cheng asked himself, what are they crowding here for? Coming closer to the blackboard, Cheng Cheng saw that there was a riddle written for graduates. They had to count the number of squares. With these inscriptions, squares were also written on the blackboard. Looking at the board, Cheng Cheng said to himself that this was it. Well, a crowd of people was even better. Noticing Cheng Cheng, the head of the math club asked him, pointing to the board with his hand, that he was new, right? He didn't even need to look in this direction. It was a mystery for graduating classes. He should go with him. He would show him a problem for beginners. After listening to him, Cheng Cheng followed him and saw such a task in front of him as, if 5 cats eat 5 fish in 5 minutes, then in how many minutes will 100 cats eat 100 fish? There was a task from the head next to this task. When Cheng Cheng saw it, he pointed at it with his hand and asked the headman, "What is the task from the head?" To which the headman replied that it was a puzzle that was invented by the head of their club. The task from the chapter contains numbers such as 5, 5, 6, 7, 3, 6, 8, 5, 9, 2, 1, 7, 1, 5, 6, 4, 2, 6, 8, 9, and 4 unknown digits, and participants need to complete the missing digits. Touching Cheng Cheng's shoulder, the headman with a smile on his face told him that he would better take care of his young head. Starting to approach the problem, Cheng Cheng said that he had the answer. Looking at him, the headman shouted that he should wait. He needed to solve the tasks for beginners and graduates first before starting the task from the head. Cheng Cheng turned his head to the headman and told him that it was 5 minutes and 11 squares, right. Hearing his words, the headman opened the notebook and seeing the answers confirmed Cheng Cheng's words. Everyone was shocked by this. They were leaving. How? He just came in here. He's been staring at cats and fish for half an hour. How did he decide so quickly? Cheng Cheng, approaching the problem from the chapter and seeing all these numbers, thought to himself that it was clear why no one had solved it. Here you need to multiply 2-digit numbers. 55 times 67, 3,685. 92 times 17 equals 1,564, and 26 times 89 equals. After thinking about it and after a couple of seconds, Cheng Cheng confidently told the headman that his answer was 2, 3, 1, and 4, right. Surprised by his quick response, the headman with his mouth open will respond positively. The people around him opened their eyes and mouth wide. They shouted, "What? Did he give the correct answer again?" Walking up to Cheng Cheng and touching his shoulders, the headman tearfully told him that he congratulated him. He had won a dinner with the head of the club. Cheng Cheng did not expect to hear this and asked what. The headman went on to say that this was the main prize of the math club. Listening to the words of the headman, the guys around cried and bit their handkerchiefs, saying that this is a lucky bastard. They already want to cry with envy. Everyone around was burning hard and feeling this atmosphere. Cheng Cheng asked himself with sweat on his face, did they really all want to receive this award so much? By this time, Doka told Cheng Cheng with a smile on his face that it was not bad. His task was completed by 20%. After hearing her words, Cheng Cheng repeated questioningly, only 20%. After that, he began to run away from the math club, asking for forgiveness and saying that he did not have time to have dinner with some kind of head there. Everyone was shocked by his words, and everyone asked at once that he refused to have dinner with one of the Celestials. But who is he? After a while, many students gathered at the sports ground on Lyceum Street to run 1,500 meters. They also reported over the loudspeaker that the race for 1,500 meters organized by the sports club would begin soon. They asked all participants to get ready. Looking at all this, Cheng Cheng adjusted his tie and said out loud that there were so many people here, an ideal place to gain popularity, but long-distance running competitions with the best athletes. He had no chance. It was better to look for another event. Hearing this, Doku asked with a smirk on her face, what is he giving up so immediately? Didn't he notice that he had already reached the second level? After her words, Cheng Cheng moved into the system and saw in front of him that he was already at the second level. His training points were 2,333. Pointing to the system window, Doka told Cheng Cheng that every time he goes to the next level, the system gives him a chance to play the Wheel of Fortune, but the prize depends on the level of moral qualities. Cheng Cheng said that if he was lucky, he could pull out 10,000 points and win a lot of time for himself. Well, he agreed to play. After such words, Cheng Cheng activated the Wheel of Fortune and it started. When a couple of seconds had passed, Cheng Cheng stopped the Wheel of Fortune and a box fell out to him, inside which was a memory engine. Seeing this, Doka smiled and told Cheng Cheng that he was lucky. Motor memory allows you not to get tired when performing the same type of movements, a useful thing, especially if the teacher forces you to rewrite the book as punishment. Accepting the prize, Cheng Cheng also smiled and said that this was not what the dream prize would be, but so be it, he would accept it. Upon hearing this, Doka yelled at him, asking who he thinks he is. He should thank her. Cheng Cheng logged out without listening to her. After coming out with him, Doka stuck out her tongue at him and called him rude. By this time, the best athlete of the Chunbo Lyceum, Lei Kai, came to the stadium. Lifting one leg up, he shouted with confidence that he had been running for so many years. Thousands of 50 meters for him was like a pre-workout warm-up. After saying these words, Lei Kai noticed Cheng Cheng, who was wearing a mask, showing him his biceps. He asked what was he wearing a mask for. Does he think he came to the theater? In sports, strength decides everything. Cheng Cheng pretended as if he had not heard Lei Kai's words and did not answer him. Seeing this, Lei Kai got angry and asked himself that he still had the audacity to ignore him. Well, it's okay. After a couple of laps it will be clear to everyone who he is. When all the students gathered and got ready, a command was given over the loudspeaker, according to which all the participants started. Cheng Cheng immediately began to quickly run away to the finish line. And looking at this, Lei Kai with a grin on his face asked himself, where did he start like that? That's a fool. He's not running 100 meters. Forces need to be distributed evenly, otherwise you can run out of steam. A few seconds later, Cheng Cheng was already far away from Lei Kai, and seeing this, Lei Kai was shocked. He began to ask himself with his mouth open, what is he eating? He ran 500 meters, but did not slow down. He is a local sports star. He cannot lose the jerk in the mask. After these thoughts, Lei Kai also began to accelerate, and soon he caught up with Cheng Cheng. With sweat and a smile on his face, Lei Kai called Cheng Cheng a masquerader and said that he rejoices early, he will not lose to him. Cheng Cheng, ignoring him, pulled out a book called Entertaining Mathematics, and thought that he was wasting so much time with this run, he'd better read something useful for now. Seeing this, Lei Kai was in complete shock. The observers were also surprised by Cheng Cheng. With their eyes wide open, they shouted that everyone would look at that guy in the mask. He runs and reads, here he gives. Is he from their planet at all? A few seconds later, Cheng Cheng had already finished first, and the loudspeaker immediately announced that a new champion had appeared, and he set a new record. Lei Kai, with a trembling body, barely approached the finish line and told Cheng Cheng that he was a bastard. He should not think that. Next time, they would see who. Without finishing the sentence, Lei Kai fell to the ground unconscious. The people nearby immediately reacted and shouted to others that he had lost consciousness. They should rather take him to the medical center. After some time, Cheng Cheng took the gold medal and began to walk around the Lyceum, but the doc told him that the task was completed by 50%. He was going well. Cheng Cheng also asked her what happens. The more people at the event, the faster it gains popularity. So where else are there a lot of people? At the same moment, Cheng Cheng noticed a lot of people standing in front of the task cards. When Cheng Cheng went to the cards, he heard two guys talking. One of them said that this year's event of the Logic Club had gathered so many people. The second guy agreed with him and said that it was because they had the best prize. The first one to solve all 50 problems was entitled to a ticket to the concert of pop diva Wang Fei. Lin Yu also stood next to Cheng Cheng and read assignments to herself, such as, while they were being taken to school, a car with the number 10 UA18 drove past them, which was hiding from the scene of the accident. They reported it to the police, but they could not find this car. Why? Their teacher went missing. And in an open file on his computer it was only written 101 times 5. What does that mean? They were told that the 6-digit password to the safe was somehow related to the time 9 hours 35 minutes seconds. Why the password 093515 is not correct. After reading these tasks, Lin Yu thought with sweat on her face that what difficult tasks, they all could not be solved in a week. Cheng Cheng also read these assignments and began to think that because he saw the number in the rearview mirror, the correct car number is 81AU01. 101 multiplied by 5 equals 505. The teacher left an sauce message. Perhaps it meant evening time. Another password option is 213515. After that, Cheng Cheng took a pen and a piece of paper and sat down at the table and began to write all the answers. Seeing this, people around were surprised. After finishing writing, Cheng Cheng thought with a smile on his face that he had clicked such puzzles in the first grade like seed. Then, throwing the answer sheet like a boss, Cheng Cheng said that 50 was ready. He was done. Everyone was shocked individually, and looking at their facial expressions, Cheng Cheng told himself that everyone was looking at him now. The super task should be over. After thinking about it, Cheng Cheng asked Doku, "What's up with the assignment?" But at the same moment, a friend of the mask owner ran up behind Cheng Cheng. He grabbed Cheng Cheng by the shoulder and shouted, saying that the song contest would start soon. Where was he? When he didn't hear an answer, the friend of the mask owner began to drag Cheng Cheng away and say that he was already tired of looking for him. They needed to go soon. Cheng Cheng did not expect this and could not resist. He dropped the decision sheet and was dragged away by force with his mouth open. Lin Yu was also surprised to see this. Starting to pick up Cheng Cheng's answer sheet, Lin Yu straightened her hair and asked herself if he had really solved all 50 tasks. After that, Lin Yu guessed the test sheet and told the girl with glasses that she would check the answers on this piece of paper. A minute later, the girl with glasses shouted in surprise that all the answers were correct. How is this possible? Because she personally chose the most difficult tasks. After saying these words, the girl with glasses handed Lin Yu the grand prize and began to congratulate her, saying that she had won the grand prize. She admired her intelligence. Lin Yu, waving her hands, said that no, she misunderstood her. In fact, before she could finish her sentence, the girl in glasses grabbed her hand and raised it to the whole audience, shouting that Lin Yu would become the winner of the Logic Club competition. Let's applaud her. Seeing all the praise, Lin Yu with a red face wanted to say something, but she thought to herself that the guy in the mask probably went to the song contest. She should apologize to him and hand over the prize. At the same time, at the school song contest, a girl in a mask performed. Cheng Cheng and Doka stood aside. Doka told Cheng Cheng that the task was still 50% completed, no changes. Touching his head, Cheng Cheng said in frustration that it was because he had not handed in the answer sheet. Listening to his words, Doka asked, saying that he had 5 minutes left and he wanted to spend them whining. To which Cheng Cheng replied that it was okay. Maybe it was even for the best. He might not have scored the remaining 50% in the logic club, but this is the place to gain popularity. While Cheng Cheng and Doka were talking, the girl with the mask on her face finished singing. Seeing this, Cheng Cheng touched his chin and asked that it was time for him to go on stage. What would he sing to conquer everyone? Classics, pop, or something from the TikTok trends? Imagining how he sings these songs, Cheng Cheng waved his head and told himself that no, it's a shame to sing this even in front of degenerates. By the way, at the same moment, Cheng Cheng remembered how Doka had told him that she had made a little mistake in the records, and as a result, the entire population of the Earth had degraded. The greatest minds pushing forward the entire civilized world had disappeared, and his planet now consists of idiots. Remembering this, Cheng Cheng picked up a guitar and thought that it should follow that none of them could be familiar with the songs of the past. It seems he knows exactly what he can surprise them with. By this time, jury was already calling the next contestant. While the girl in the mask was rejoicing, everyone around shouted that she was doing well. She was clearly going to win today. Writing down the contestants' scores, the famous composer Lai Laoman, with a smile on his face, said to himself, looking at the girl with the mask, that considering how she sang, it was unlikely that someone else would win. After thinking about this, Lai Laoman called the next one. After hearing this, Cheng Cheng went on stage and began talking into the microphone that he would perform a song of his own composition, Chrysanthemum Terrace. Seeing Cheng Cheng, Lai Laoman began to yawn and tell himself that it seemed the previous student was the only more or less bright spot of this event. But the rest, he should not have agreed to sit here on the jury. At that time, the doc was telling Cheng Cheng, showing a report of the remaining time, that his time was almost running out. This was his last chance. The report was equal to 241 and stopped less and less every second. But Cheng Cheng started playing the guitar, closed his eyes and sang words like, "Your tears shine with pain and suffering. The snow-white moon is trying to caress you with its rays. This night is so long and cold, only she is able to pacify his ardent the heart." By this time, Lin Yu had walked up to the seats in front of the stage and was saying to herself with a smile on her face that she knew it. At ease at a song contest. As soon as Lin Yu sat down in her seat, she noticed how everyone around praised Cheng Cheng, saying such words as, "What a beautiful song, did he really write it himself?" It was necessary to go to the recording studio with this, and not to the school competition. Cheng Cheng continued to sing with his eyes closed that the dream was slipping away like the fragrance of fading flowers, and the wind was blurring the remnants of her image from his memory. Chrysanthemums were fading, plunging the world into emptiness. Her smile was waiting for the sad fate of these flowers. Lai Laoman, listening to Cheng Cheng's song, was also surprised. He cried out that it was wonderful. Lai Laoman was touched to the depths of his soul. He said to himself that earlier, when he heard the word chrysanthemum, his first association was with an adult film, Chrysanthemum of the Goddess. But with this song he created such a chromatic image that he displaced all the vulgarity from this word, and the music. From every note it's like his soul is shaking. By this point, Cheng Cheng was already finishing singing his song with words such as that she had left him alone with this emptiness. After that, Cheng Cheng thanked everyone and said that his song was over. Then Cheng Cheng opened his eyes and saw that no one was clapping for him. But the doc, seeing this, shouted to Cheng Cheng that he was finished. Others did not react in any way. The system was still 50%. He had only 3 seconds left to live. Listening to her words, Cheng Cheng was shocked. And when the report reached 1, the whole audience stood up and began to applaud, shouting that this was a masterpiece. He should sing to them again. This is the winner. He won. Bravo. Cheng Cheng immediately looked at the system window, which said that the system congratulated him. The super task was completed successfully. He received 10,000 points. Seeing this, Cheng Cheng exhaled with relief and thought that he barely made it. He apologizes to Uncle Jay for appropriating the song, but he really needed it. Lai Laoman quickly approached Cheng Cheng and took his hand with puppy eyes and asked, calling him a boy, that he sang very well. By the way, could he sell him this song? Maybe he wrote something else. Would he like to work with him? To which Cheng Cheng replied with sweat on his face that he was not a musician, and he was not interested. Pulling his hand away, Cheng Cheng began to climb off the stage. Lai Laoman shouted that he was not a musician, but could write such a masterpiece. So he was even more talented than he thought. He would make him a star. Cheng Cheng, running away, replied that he did not want to. He still needed to finish his studies. Seeing Cheng Cheng running away, Lai Laoman shouted to everyone that whoever caught him would give autographs to Pop Diva Wang Fei. After hearing these words, all the people started running after Cheng Cheng, and one of them shouted to the others that they would tear off his mask and find out who he was. Left in complete chaos, Lin Yu held the prize from the logistics club and said out loud that she had not had time to give him the prize again. After such words, Lin Yu looked after Cheng Cheng and thought with a smile on her face that if he studied at Chunbo, she would definitely find out who he was. After a while, Cheng Cheng was able to break away, and people, not seeing where he ran away, shouted and asked which way he ran. Did anyone see? Removing the mask from his face, Cheng Cheng exhaled and said that it was good that he was wearing a mask, otherwise they would not have left him alone. Doka, wiping the sweat from her face with a handkerchief, told Cheng Cheng that the way he managed to stay alive was just incredible, but do not take it as praise. He should not turn up his nose. Cheng Cheng replied to her that he was motivated by a thirst for revenge. He would not die so easily. After looking at the mask and smiling, Cheng Cheng said out loud that Jing Liang, he would come for him. At the same time, Lily and Jing Liang were in the corner. They were doing inappropriate things in broad daylight. And hearing the noise everywhere, Lily looked at what was coming and saw Cheng Cheng with a mask in his hand. Angrily said that the whole lyceum was talking all day about some smart guy who goes everywhere and everyone humiliating. It turns out it was him. She can't see him anymore. Jing Liang smiled ominously and told Lily that no matter what she was worried about, he had everything under control. Tomorrow was the group assignment exam, and this bastard would not get on it. In the evening at Lai's house, Cheng Cheng, Cheng Yin and Lai had dinner at the table. Lai asked Cheng Cheng how his day was today. Did he like the lyceum? To which Cheng Cheng happily replied positively, saying that besides, he did not meet a couple of acquaintances there, he definitely would not be bored. As soon as Cheng Cheng mentioned this, Lily and Zhang Liang began to hiccup in their homes. Cheng Cheng got up from his chair, thanked them for dinner and said that he would go to his room to study. Grabbing his hand, Cheng Yin called him brother and told him that no matter what he left, he should tell her a fairy tale. Stroking her head, Cheng Cheng agreed with her and told her that just not for long. Cheng Yin smiled and shouted that he would tell about Puss in Boots. After a couple of hours in Cheng Cheng's room, Cheng Cheng, touching his t-shirt, thought that time had flown by somehow quickly. He had spent so much time on these fairy tales. Cheng Yin had also put a hairpin on him. Now you can take it off. After these thoughts, Cheng Cheng called the system and entered it. Taking books such as neuroscience, higher mathematics, and parallel universes, Cheng Cheng began to study them all, telling himself that since Doc said that while he was in the system, real time stops, then he'd better study right here. The books of the new world are too primitive, at least some knowledge of the past world remains in the system. When Cheng Cheng finished study, he received such a message from the system as that the task, self-study within 1 hour, was completed. He received 20,000 points. Without stopping there, Cheng Cheng took up sports and at the end received a notification from the system that the task to do sports for 1 hour was completed. He received 20,000 points. After finishing his training, Cheng Cheng took up biology and at the end he also received a message from the system that the task of creating Ikebana was completed. He received 20,000 points. While doing all these things, Cheng Cheng told himself that Mom, Dad, Cheng Yin, he needed a little more time. He would definitely restore the lost world and its civilization, and then they would all be together again. After finishing writing the calligraphy of Chinese wisdom, Cheng Cheng pulled himself up and thought that although time had stopped in the real world, he had been here for several hours and was pretty tired. He could not sleep inside the system, otherwise he would have rested here, so he would have to sleep in the real world. The system immediately notified him that the task, the calligraphy training, was completed. He received 20,000 points. After logging out, Cheng Cheng began to undress. And when he got down to his underpants and almost completely took them off, a doc appeared in front of him calling his name. But before she could say another word, she saw a semi-naked Cheng Cheng, covering himself with his hand and quickly putting his underpants back on. Cheng Cheng, with sweat on his face, asked what she was looking at. Doka, closing her eyes, quickly turned away and shouted that why was he taking off his underpants, to which Cheng Cheng also shouted back with questions that he was used to sleeping naked. But what's the matter? And in general he did not call her. What is she doing here? The red-faced Doka replied to him that she had an important message for him. The system gave him an unsatisfactory grade. He would have to be punished. Surprised by her words, Cheng Cheng asked with what how is this possible? He even completed the super task. The doc, angry, replied to him pointing a finger at him that the system gives an overall rating not only based on the completion of tasks, his behavior during their execution is also taken into account. He not only took someone else's mask, but also did not help that runner when he fainted. Because of your bad behavior, he received such an assessment. Touching his head and closing his eyes, Cheng Cheng said that okay, he would admit it. Smiling, the doc clicked her finger and a wheel appeared in front of Cheng Cheng. on which such punishments were written as undress in the main square, eat a chocolate bar with the taste of shit, write on social networks that he is gay, confess his love to a strange girl, jump ass into a cactus. At the same time, Doka told Cheng Cheng to get himself punished. After reading all this, Cheng Cheng asked with his eyes wide open, "What kind of delusional punishments are these? Rejoicing in the square is generally illegal." The next day, Cheng Cheng rode the bus and thought to himself that he was so eager to approach a strange girl and confess his love. Appearing in front of Cheng Cheng, Doka laughingly told him to be glad that he had not pulled out the undressing in the square. Cheng Cheng, clenching his fist and trembling, asked what would happen if he didn't do it. Doka immediately joyfully replied that he was going to die. At the same time, a truck driver driving on the other side of the road saw the bus that Cheng Cheng was riding on and shouted with a wide smile on his face that this was the bus. If he delayed him and he was late for school, Jing Liang would give him 50,000. That's a generous son of a bitch. While the truck was moving towards the bus and almost stopped it, a car abruptly got out in front of the truck. Seeing this, the truck driver shouted and asked what was he climbing into. But the driver of the car suddenly stopped in front of the truck and an accident occurred because of this. People on the bus, seeing this, shouted that there was an accident ahead and the culprit had already disappeared. Seeing the driver of the car unconscious, Cheng Cheng began to think to himself that yesterday he did not help that runner and the system gave him a low rating. If he does not intervene now, perhaps tomorrow he will have to undress in the square. After thinking about this, Cheng Cheng got up from his seat and shouted to the bus driver to open the door. He should help the injured. Upon hearing his words, the people around him called him, "Well done." At the same time, Lin Yu was also driving her car with her own driver, and because of what happened, the driver of the car told Lin Yu that there was an accident ahead and some guy in a Chunbo uniform was helping the victims. Did she know him? Putting the book aside that she was reading, Lin Yu aged what was coming there and saw Cheng Cheng helping people. Lin Yu immediately thought that this was the same novice who received Jing Liang and Lily at the gates of the Lyceum. Wow, not everyone is capable of rushing to help the injured like that. After some time, in the hospital, Cheng Cheng was sitting next to an unconscious grandmother, who was the driver of the car. Cheng Cheng sat silently and was very nervous. The doc asked him what he was hesitating about. Now is the perfect moment to carry out punishment. He should confess his love to her while she was unconscious. After Doki's words, Cheng Cheng adjusted his tie and apologized to Grandma inwardly and thought that now he had to do something very stupid. He helped her, now she can help him. After thinking about it, Cheng Cheng still decides to confess his love. He began to tell Grandma that he wanted to say that she was the most gentle and most beautiful of all women. He had never met a man who was so kind to people. When he first saw her, something happened to him. He never talked about it, but he wanted to hug her tightly. He didn't deserve her, but if it were possible, he swears he would love her all his life. Saying such things, Cheng Cheng took his grandmother's hand. And when he finished speaking, he thought to himself that this was the best monologue with a declaration of love that he had seen in the movies. Grandma, hearing his words, suddenly woke up and immediately asked what all her life. Seeing this, Doka and Cheng Cheng were shocked. They both asked each other at the same time that she had woken up. Without answering his grandmother, Cheng Cheng began to run away, closing his eyes and telling himself that it was a shame. Cheng Cheng ran so fast that his card stating that he was a student of Chunbo Lyceum fell out of his pocket, and Cheng Cheng himself did not notice it. At the same time, there is an exam in Chunbo Lyceum, and Cheng Cheng's place is still empty. Having reached the Lyceum and the classroom, Cheng Cheng was not allowed inside by the teacher, and Cheng Cheng shouted to her that she would let him into the classroom. The teacher, in turn, told him that she could not. 15 minutes after the start of the exam, no one should be allowed in. Bowing in honor of respect, Cheng Cheng begged the teacher to leave, saying that he was late because he was saving a man. After hearing Cheng Cheng's screams, the head teacher of Chunbo Lyceum, Zhang Bin, came up to them. Adjusting his glasses, he told Cheng Cheng that what was he making a noise here? If he has something to say, he should say it in his office. A couple of minutes later, in Zhang Bin's office, Zhang Bin asked Cheng Cheng that what was his name, and why was he late. Cheng Cheng replied that his name was Cheng Cheng. After saying these words, Cheng Cheng thought that it was a completely new experience for him to be on the carpet of the head teacher. After thinking about it, Cheng Cheng answered the second question that he was helping an elderly woman who had an accident. Zhang Bin, hearing his words, calmly said that the reason was as good as possible. After these words, Zhang Bin abruptly jumped out of his seat and shouted, "What kind of fool is he holding him for?" Cheng Cheng did not react to the reaction in any way and was calm as a boa constrictor. He replied to Zhang Bin that if he did not believe him, he could then go to the hospital and record a video for him, but now he asks him to take the exam. Zhang Bin, with all his voice, began to yell at Cheng Cheng that he had already missed the native language exam. Even if he passed the math, he would not have enough overall points. He should tell his parents that they would transfer him to another school. A 2-year-old. Listening to his screams, Doc appeared and viciously asked what he couldn't do without screaming. How did he piss her off? Cheng Cheng asked Doku what he could do to address the press. Let them write that the Chunbo Lyceum does not encourage assistance to victims. The public should stand up for him. Agreeing with him, Doka smiled and said that only after that the director, the head teacher, and the rest of the teachers would turn his studies into hell, it was better to use the items from the store. Cheng Cheng asked the doctor again, "What's the use of those 3 items? The sarcastic mask won't help him now." Doka shouted at him that he had the first level then, but now he is already on the second level, so new items were open to him. After Doki's words, a system window appeared in front of Cheng Cheng, which showed that new items appeared in the store, such as luck is worth 200 points at a time, measuring tape is worth 200 points at a time, and invisible water is worth 200 points. After seeing all this, Cheng Cheng crossed his arms and asked, saying that the price had doubled, "What kind of scam?" To which Doka replied that since the price has increased, it means that the items are now twice as effective, honestly, in her store. Pressing a button in the system, Cheng Cheng agreed with Doka and said that he would take luck for now. After that, the system informed him that the purchase of luck was successful. As soon as Cheng Cheng returned to the real world, Zhang Bin rudely asked him that why was he still here. Without waiting for an answer, Zhang Bin received a call, picked up the phone and calmly said that Zhang Bin was listening. Realizing that Mr. Zhang, the head of the Ministry of Education, was talking to him, Zhang Bin's voice instantly changed. He joyfully asked what his humble person could do to serve the head of the Ministry of Education. Zhang asked him in response that there was a 10th grader named Cheng Cheng in their lyceum. From such a question, Zhang Bin looked at Cheng Cheng standing next to him and asked himself, what is Cheng Cheng? The one who stands in front of him? What could this bastard have done that he was getting a call from the Ministry of Education? After these thoughts, Zhang Bin got up from his seat and replied positively, saying that they have such a student, or rather, we can assume that they are expelling him. When Zhang heard about this, he shouted sharply, asking why they were expelling such a noble young man. His mother had an accident this morning, and he helped her. From such words and screams, Zhang Bin's wig jumped off, and Zhang Bin himself was surprised to think that it turned out that he had told the truth. That's how it was. Zhang went on to say that he asked him to convey his verbal thanks to him, and next time he would personally come to their lyceum and meet with him. Zhang Bin was still shocked and barely replied that he would pass everything on. Cheng Cheng, seeing this, began to leave the office and think that he was wrongly indignant about the price. This item fully justified itself. As soon as Zhang Bin hung up the phone, Cheng Cheng stood facing the door with a smirk on his face and told Zhang Bin that it was time for him to go look for a new school. Zhang Bin stopped him, pushed the table forward, and very politely asked him to sit down, saying that there had been a misunderstanding. They would soon give him a certificate for heroism. Looking at all this, Cheng Cheng immediately thought that he was just a professional in changing shoes. After thinking about this, Cheng Cheng smiled slightly and told Zhang Bin that a diploma was unnecessary. It was better for him to let him take the exam. Looking at his watch, Zhang Bin replied to him that there were 15 minutes left before the end of the exam, during which time he would not be able to do anything. But could he then arrange for him to retake another day? Cheng Cheng asked himself, what if skipping the exam is counted by the system as failures? Going to the door and opening it, Cheng Cheng replied to Zhang Bin that it was okay. He would have enough time if he did only the last 20 tasks of increased difficulty. Then the Jian would score 60 points, which would be enough, and if he did everything, it would be 120 points. Angry at his words, Zhang Bin asked himself what he thought of himself. They are not taking away morons here. They have the most difficult tasks. Damn it, he can't let him fail the exam and fly out of the lyceum. He still has to meet with the head of the Ministry of Defense. He will have to help him score points himself. After a while, Zhang Bin went to the 10th grade classroom and asked Teacher Qin, what are these filled out answer forms from today's math exam? To which Qin replied positively, picking up the papers and starting to leaf through them in search of Cheng Cheng's work. A couple of seconds later, and not finding Cheng Cheng's sheet, Zhang Bin asked Qin, where is the form with Cheng Cheng's answers? Touching her chin, Qin replied that he had scored 120 points, so she took his form to the director. Hearing her answer, Zhang Bin is shocked. He screamed to himself, what? This can't be. At the same time, in the director's office, Director Lin held Cheng Cheng's form and said on the phone that that's it. He was right. Cheng Cheng is also one of the survivors. On the other end of the line, the man made a serious face and did not say anything. A mini lecture on the device of the system from Doki. Doka tells that there are 5 ranks in the Smart Guys system: Student, Smart Guy, Nerd, Megamind, and Sage. The current level of Cheng Cheng, a 2nd rank student. Every time you level up, you can play the Wheel of Fortune, as well as new items open in the store, and every time by increasing the rank, the system will give out a big prize, and Doki's image will change. After that, Doka hugged herself and with a smile on her face asked Cheng Cheng if he knew what her next image would be. Cheng Cheng replied with such a phrase as "we'll see." In the evening, in Cheng Cheng's room, when Cheng Cheng went into his room, he saw Cheng Yin writing something on his workbook and joyfully saying such words as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A bunny went out for a walk. After taking the notebook, Cheng Cheng told Cheng Yin that you can't draw anything on this notebook, it's for someone else. After saying these words, Cheng Cheng looked at the notebook and saw not drawings at all, but answers to such problems. 2 divided by 1 equals 2, 7 multiplied by 6 equals 42, 16 divided by 2 equals 8, and so on. After seeing the answers, Cheng Cheng thought to himself that all the answers are correct. These are high school assignments, how did she solve them? After that, Cheng Cheng touched both of Cheng Yin's shoulders and asked in surprise that she had done it herself. Could she count how many 597 would add 489? Raising her hand, Cheng Yin immediately replied that it would be 1086. Having received the correct answer, Cheng Cheng asked again that how much would 56,764 be added to 48,524. After asking about this, Cheng Cheng said to himself that his former autistic sister would have decided this. But before Cheng Yin could answer, Lai came into Cheng Cheng's room and told Cheng Cheng that he didn't have to check on her. Cheng Yin was the same as him, a survivor from the past world. Standing in front of Cheng Yin and covering her with his hand, Cheng Cheng warily asked what was he talking about. He did not understand him. Li told him that they shouldn't be afraid of him, he cares about them. Hasn't he noticed how the world has changed yet? After hearing this question, Cheng Cheng asked himself, how does he know all this? By this time, Li continued to say that everything around indicates that someone tried to destroy the entire former civilization and erase the memory of it. People can still use phones, computers, and other high-tech devices, but they are no longer able to understand the principles of operation of these devices. So technological progress cannot move on. Degraded people in the scientific world are now called degenerates. And those who still have a mind from the time of the last civilization are called survivors. There is also a secret formation, which preys on survivors in order to completely destroy them. There are organizations around the world that are engaged in protecting survivors, but lately they have often been attacked. After such a story, Cheng Cheng thought that he had no idea that there were still people who remembered the past world. Doka also heard all this and told Cheng Cheng exhaling that it was good. Although Uncle Lai did not know exactly what he was doing now, he scared her so much. Cheng Cheng also asked her what she knew about the hunt for survivors, to which Doka immediately replied with the question that she was in charge of collecting knowledge. What was it to crimes? Approaching Cheng Cheng and touching him on the shoulders, Lai told him that for the sake of his and Cheng Yin's safety, he should behave as inconspicuously as possible. Cheng Cheng asked him, saying that it was fine, he understood everything. But how did he know that he was a survivor? Lai replied with a calm face that Director Lin personally compiled the tasks of increased difficulty for this exam, just in order to identify the survivors, but he cannot worry, he is one of them. When he finished talking about it, Lai took Cheng Yin's hand and began to dismiss her, saying that was it. Her brother still had homework to do, he should go to his room and play. As soon as Cheng Yin and Lai left, Cheng Cheng touched his head and plunged into thought that everything began to make sense. He used to think that he was the only one in the whole world who had not degraded, so it was not clear to him who, for example, continues to produce electronics. He underestimated this world. Who would he might have thought that he might be hunted? The next day, Cheng Cheng already entered the courtyard of the Lyceum, and the doc, flying around him, asked how he planned to live on. Will he follow Uncle Li's advice and keep a low profile? To which Cheng Cheng responded positively, saying that it was below the grass. Well, even though he used a mask at all events, there was only a snag with the system's punishments for low grades. At the same moment, Cheng Ying and Po Kai ran ahead of Cheng Cheng. Both of them shouted joyfully that the results of the group allocation exam had appeared. When they reached the grading board, Cheng Ying and Po Kai saw that Po Kai was in group number 10, scored a total score of 137, placed 497, native speech 72, mathematics 65. Cheng Ying was in group number 10, scored a total score of 136, placed 498, native speech 70, mathematics 66. Lei Kai in group number 10, scored a total score of 127, placed 499. Native speech 65, mathematics 62. Cheng Cheng in group number 10 scored a total score of 120, placed 500, native speech 0, mathematics 120. Seeing this, Cheng Ying and Po Kai hugged and joyfully told each other that they would study in the same group. Together they would shake this lyceum. Hearing their words, a guy named Dai Ba laughed and asked that how can the students of the 10th group shudder at him? They are only able to put him to shame. From his words, the students around began to laugh. Lei Kai, angry, grabbed Dai Ba by the collar and viciously asked what he had against the 10th group, to which Dai Ba replied that the 10th group included those who took the last 50 places in the exam. He only voiced the obvious, among them some morons. Lei Kai became even more angry and swung his fist and shouted that he was going to break his jaw. stopping Lei Kai in time. Grabbing his shoulder, Cheng Cheng uttered words such as, "Take it easy, buddy, he's also from the 10th group, he'd better put him in his place." After taking Lei Kai back, Cheng Cheng stood in front of Dai Ba and asked that he himself had scored how many points. Pointing to the grading board, Dai Ba replied that he was more than any moron from the 10th group. Looking at the board, Cheng Cheng saw that Dai Ba was in the 5th group. The total score was 154. The place was 145th. Native speech was 80, mathematics was 74. After Cheng Cheng saw Dai Ba's grades, he told him with a smile on his face that he had come up with a review based on his scores. If he solved it, he would apologize to him on behalf of the entire 10th group. Dai Ba thought to himself that it was unlikely that the cretin who took one of the last places could come up with something very difficult. Perhaps he would accept this challenge. Think about it. Dai Ba accepted the offer. Upon hearing his answer, Cheng Cheng pulled out a pen and began writing on the blackboard with the results. A few seconds later, such a review was written on the blackboard as 145 times 154 and divided by D87. When everyone saw this, Cheng Cheng said that 145 was his place, 154 was the total score, D87 were the initials of his name. The task was custom-made, perfectly describes him. Dai Ba got angry at this and shouted, "What is there to multiply, divide in another letter? How can this be solved?" Cheng Cheng replied to him that then he would decide for him. After a few more seconds, the answer was written on the board as, "An idiot who is nobody and harasses others." Seeing this, Po Kai shouted that he was just a genius, while others began to laugh loudly. Cheng Cheng grinned and told Dai Ba that, as he said, the problem perfectly describes him. After these words, Cheng Cheng began to leave. Dai Ba, looking after him, viciously shouted that he would say his name. Cheng Cheng replied to him, continuing to leave and not turning around, that his name was Cheng Cheng, he was from the 10th group. Hearing this, Dai Ba immediately started looking for Cheng Cheng on the results board, and when he saw his results, he was shocked to ask that he had 120 points in mathematics. But how? All this time, Lily and Jingliang were watching this scene. And when Cheng Cheng left, Lily hit Jingliang on the head with a bag, shouting that he had promised her that she would not see him again. Jingliang, getting angry, said that the ugly driver said that he had done everything and taken the money. He would have to personally settle accounts with him. Lin Yu also watched all this from the sidelines. And after Cheng Cheng left, Lin Yu thought with a smile on her face that this newcomer was humiliating others in public again. After thinking about this, Lin Yu went to the results board and began to examine Cheng Cheng's reviews, telling herself out loud that it was witty. Then suddenly remembering something, Lin Yu quickly takes out a sheet of answers from Cheng Cheng of the Logistics Club from his pocket. Starting to compare the handwriting, Lin Yu said to herself that the handwriting is completely the same.